Hey guys, I'm Jody.
And I'm Kelli.
And today we are going to do our best cruise rating criteria for the Avalon Panorama. Hi, I'm Jody.
And I'm Kelli.
And we're
JK Cruising.
As a reminder, our best cruise rating criteria covers 10 items that we feel will make or break your experience on a cruise.
We were on this cruise in December 2022 for the Christmas Mart cruise up the Rhine River. So for B, for bargain, I put a 3.0. It was an expensive trip with the flights over there, the hotels, the trains, and then of course the cost of the cruise itself was expensive. But we view this as a trip of a lifetime. We'll may not ever get to do it again. Hopefully we will, but may not. And going into it with the attitude of it was a trip of a lifetime, and it really, I felt like we got our money's worth for it.
Yeah, I rated it 2.5, and again, it's the cost. We spent on everything, including the hotels, going a few days early, and taking train rides from Amsterdam. So our flights from DFW to Amsterdam, and then our train ride from Amsterdam to Basel, Switzerland. We had a stay in Rothenburg, a stay in Nuremberg during that time as well for a few nights, trying to get the Christmas spirit going. And we visited all the Christmas marts there in Nuremberg and Rothenburg. And altogether, that cost us about $14,220.41. Comparatively, if you'd compared that to just a land vacation in those cities, you probably could have got away with around $10,428.67 based on some of the math and some of the investigation we did. Otherwise, I agree with Kelli. Like this is a trip of a lifetime to go down the Rhine River during Christmas time and see all of the castles on the Rhine River in Europe and all those different countries. Just amazing, the history there. So,
okay, for ease, I rated it a 5.0. Everything about this cruise was easy except for the booking. There were just too many choices. But seriously, it was easy. It was a quick little phone call and we were booked. When we arrived at the ship, they met us out at the taxi. They got our luggage, took it in. You don't see that kind of service on, an ocean cruise. But once we got on board, it was super easy and super relaxing because every stop, there was only 1 or 2 excursions, 3 at the most to choose from. So you weren't overwhelmed with choices of all the excursions. So it made it nice and relaxing. There was also 1 restaurant on board. So they had 10 or 12 things to choose from every night. So it wasn't, 50 different restaurants on board to choose from. So it was very easy, very relaxing vacation.
agreed. Yeah, I rated this 3.5 for ease, and the primary reason was probably not the cruise's fault, but the fact that we went into Amsterdam and we had several days of train travel prior to getting to our embarkation point, which was frankly our decision. So probably improper to rate this a 3.5, but anyways, I did rate it a 3.5.
For S stands for ship, and I rated it a 5.0. This ship was stunning. It was so nicely decorated, and the Christmas decorations were just so festive and beautiful. While it's smaller than ocean cruise ships, and it did not have a pool or a spa, it did have a gym and a hot tub. There was a small room in the back that had complimentary snacks, books, games, all kind of stuff throughout the day. And the main dining room was situated with tables for 2, 4, 12, every configuration you could think of. The ship just thought of everything.
Yeah, I rated a 4.0 as well. The ship was very clean. It was decorated very festively for Christmas time. All of the the ship was, I mean, just super clean. The only reason that I really gave it maybe 4.0 is the last day they had to pump out the ship, and I guess we were downwind of that process, and the ship got pretty smelly there towards the end. And while the crew was immediately on it, spraying like, you know, some orange smelling stuff, citrusy smelling stuff all over the ship, it was still pretty it was pretty difficult to take. So that's why they got a 4.0 from a ship perspective. So
T is for technology. I rated this a 4.5. Honestly, the Wi-Fi worked so well that I don't remember much about it, which is the way Wi-Fi should work. While we were there, they also had these little gadgets in the room that acted as Wi-Fi when you were off the ship, and the tour director could talk to you through that little earpiece and explain the tour as we were going through them. So that was really cool technology that was just there for you to use while you were on the ship and out on excursions.
yeah, I agree. 4.0 for me. It was the cruise, as Kelly mentioned, had Wi-Fi enabled the entire time. There were a few spots that, you know, you'd have spotty cell coverage, but other than that, you know, I mean, you are on the river, so even though many of these rivers go by many metropolitan areas within some of these countries, you know, the cell services is to be expected as cell service is. So, yeah, the little device in the room that, you know, transmitted RF had an extended range on it. You could get probably 100 feet away from the tour guide while they were speaking, and you could still understand clearly what they were talking about. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
C for crew, I rated this at 5.0. We've never had a more attentive crew on a cruise ship ever. They were so nice, so professional. When you came back from the excursions, they were all right there to greet you. They were so much fun. And this was their last cruise of the season on this boat. And then they were going to be split up, but they had worked together for almost the entire year. So they had it down like clockwork.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I gave them a 5.0 as well. While there weren't any theatrical shows on the cruise or anything like that, the crew made up for it. They were super entertaining. They were super intelligent about the history of the area we were in.
R for room, I rated this a 5.0. We had the infinity balcony, which you could open the doors and just turn the room into a balcony, which I loved. I mean, it was cold outside, but you could, you know, crack open the door, sit there and sip on hot chocolate and watch the castles go by. The storage was plentiful. The bed was comfy. The bathroom was huge. That was probably one of the biggest bathrooms I've ever seen on a cruise. Suitcases fit under the bed with no problem. They also provided us robes and slippers and extra blankets. I mean, the room was just great.
Yeah, I'm probably a harsher reviewer than I should be. This got a 4.5 from me, and the only thing that I could say is that echo everything Kelly said, and it was super comfortable bed, huge space. The only thing I would say is I got stuck on the side closest to the wall, and there wasn't but maybe 6 inches between the bed and the wall.
U is for restaurants. I rated this a 4.5. While there was technically only one restaurant on board, you could either eat downstairs in the main restaurant or you could eat upstairs and order off of a slightly smaller menu. The buffet in the morning was great. Lots of breakfast choices. But the reason why I rated this a 4.5 is they had maybe 4 or 5 choices on the menu that were the same every night, and then 4 or 5 choices that were different. I could have taken more choices.
Yeah, a little more choices.
Yeah.
I rated a 4.0. While there were, I say, good variety, it was a slightly European fare. And for us Americans, you know, we like to have a few more American type things. We could have stretched out and ate some of the, you know, instead of having filet. By the way, all the food is 5-star you won't get anything less than 5-star food there. So don't take our complaints about the variety to mean the quality of food is not good. Quality food is excellent. And we had filet and chips multiple nights, as I recall, because the menu just didn't change enough for us as Americans. So we would have liked to seen a little bit more American flair to the cuisine.
I is for entertainment. I rated this a 4.0. While there was no theatrical shows on board, the cruise director himself was very entertaining. And while we were cruising down the river, he would give lectures. They also brought in several other people to give lectures. They brought in local musicians to play at night. So it was always something going on. It just wasn't the theatrical shows that we're used to.
Right. In this case, I gave it like a 3.5. And the reason was probably there's no shows on board. You're not going to go there to be entertained from a show. And in the evening, there's really not a lot of entertainment. There are some, they're playing the piano or they're playing cellos or they're doing musicians, as Kelli said, towards the evening prior to dinner. But after dinner, it sort of quietens down at that point and everybody is hitting the rack because they've had 8 hours of excursions all day long or something like that. And so that's sort of why I rated it 3.5. They do have a port lecture every night prior to dinner around 6 in the evening. And they talk about everything that's coming up the next day. And they make sure everybody understands, where you meet, what time, all those kinds of things. So that was very cool. And again, the cruise director is doing most of this, so he is super knowledgeable and super funny, and that was entertainment in and of itself. But if you're going for, to be entertained with an ice skating rink or something like that, you're not going to get that on board this cruise, this type of cruise. So.
Okay, S for shore excursions and ports. I rated this a 5.0. Like I said, there was only 1 or 2 excursions per port to choose from, but honestly, walking through castles and going through cathedrals and the astronomical clock and all these different things that we saw, it was so much fun.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't, we've snorkeled and all these other things on ocean cruises, but this was just something so different and so fun.
Yeah, agree. 5.0 for me as well. While you didn't have a lot to choose from, the excursions were included from a cost perspective. So you didn't have to pay extra for excursions, and there were 2 to 3 planned every single day. Some of them were planned for people who were very active. So you can take a walking tour or a bicycling tour during the summer months, and the winter months you can take a walking tour, and some of them were planned for seniors who maybe couldn't walk as much, and they were more handicap accessible, if you will, or those kinds of things. So they had plenty of options. The options I thought were really good. Each one of them had a different type of experience in that you were learning. It was a historical thing where, an ocean cruise, you're getting just pure entertainment, watching something new. This is watching something new and learning, in my opinion. And so we were really learning something through the process. In fact, one time they brought a professor from a local German college on board, and he talked about the origin of Christmas and where the name came from. And I found that very that was a very intellectual conversation and going back to the early days of Christ and those types of things. So I thought it was a super, super cool lecture that they did, and I was very happy they brought those folks on board. And that was all on board. That was an excursion. They're bringing these folks on board during the trip to help sort of entertain you and keep you informed about the regions and some of the things you're going into. So very cool.
E is for overall experience. I rated this a 5. Even though it was a cold weather cruise, and I don't do cold weather very well, the cruise itself could not have been better. Everything we wanted was taken care of. The crew went above and beyond. The ports were beautiful, and the excursions was so much fun, and the food was awesome. This cruise ship really took care of every little detail. There were several ports that we stayed in at night, so we could see the Christmas lights in the city at night. It was just overall a great experience.
Yeah, without being overly picky, which I can be from time to time, I don't really think I could have asked for a better experience. I did knock off points in a few areas. Again, admittedly being probably overly critical about some things. It was a really expensive cruise, so definitely money-wise, you have to plan for this. It's not something you do on the spur of the moment.
So my overall rating was a 46 out of 50.
And mine was 40 out of 50.
So the total is 86 out of 100, or 4.3 stars.
So this got a 4.3 star rating out of 5. Our best cruise rating criteria, 4.3 stars out of 5.